Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where today we're looking at this. It's the vintage reissued VSA500B. Now, for those of you familiar with this style of guitar, of course you'll see that this is sort of a 335 type of instrument, but it has one glaring addition, and that is a B70 licensed Bigsby. So this is effectively a semi-acoustic rock and roll machine with a Bigsby added to it for wobbly goodness. Now, this specific guitar was sort of soft launched by Vintage in 2023. I've never seen one in stores, although in early 2024, as I'm filming this, they are sort of filtering out into dealers, so you might be able to try one soon. Like I said, this is part of the Vintage reissued series, so it's pristine. It's not like their road-worn Icon series, and the recommended retail price of this guitar is 699 Great British pounds, although you'll find it for considerably cheaper within dealers. So it's one of the most expensive guitars that Vintage produces outside of their individually customizable Pro Shop series. And what I'm going to do today is take you through this guitar in all its facets. We'll first talk about its specs and its features, then I'll play it in as many different musical styles as I possibly can. And at the end, I'll give you some more detailed and in-depth opinions on my thoughts about having had this guitar for a few weeks and having played it pretty intensively in that time. Now, a couple of things I just want to mention. I've always wanted a guitar with a Bigsby, so this is right up my street. I'm also kind of always on a semi-permanent hunt for a decent semi-acoustic guitar. I have my beloved Ibanez AS73 FM, but this is something slightly different. And of course, I love this Gunhill blue color, because if you know my channel, you'll know that I love a nice blue guitar. But anyway, let's get first into the specs and features of this guitar. And what do you get for your 699 Great British pounds, or considerably less if you buy it at a store? Well, you get that 335 traditional maple body and mahogany neck. So we've got a maple body on this guitar, two F-holes, one on either side, and a pretty standard 335-esque looking layout as well. Now, we've got two humbucking pickups. They're vintage voiced Wilkinson humbuckers. They're the WOCHB model. We have a three-way selector switch to move between the pickups, and the bridge pickup has its own volume and tone control, as does the neck pickup. We have Wilkinson hardware on this guitar apart from the Bigsby, so this is a Wilkinson Tunematic style bridge. And underneath that we have the piece de la resistance of this guitar. It's the officially licensed Bigsby B70 vibrato, and you can see that just here. That's going to give us a load of wobbly goodness and hopefully a bit more. You can also see from this angle as well that we've got a carved top and a carved back to this guitar. So a beautiful instrument in that Gunhill blue. We've got cream binding on the body at the front and back. We've got a 3-ply black scratch plate as well. If I flick us round to the back there, you can see it's a really nice carved, rounded, bowl back sort of a design. And we've got really decent upper fret access, as you can see here. What you can also see quite well from the back, and if I hold the guitar like this, is that because presumably of copyright law, we've got what is much more of an offset 335 type body on this guitar. Moving up to the neck then, and like I said, the neck on this guitar is mahogany. It's a one-piece mahogany neck, in fact. The profile of the neck is what Vintage call their soft C, and it's poly-finished, as you can see there in the beautiful Gunhill blue finish. The fingerboard is a 12-inch radius, and it's rosewood. We have 22 medium jumbo frets on it, and the scale length is 24.75 inches. That's 628 millimeters, and we have a 43 millimeter Graphtec nut here. And finally, moving up to the headstock, we have that vintage black look there, very classy, and Grover Deluxe tuners. So that is the vintage VSA500B guitar in Gunhill blue then. And what we're going to do next is play it. Now, my rig for today is going to be my Hughes & Kettner Black Spirit 200 amp head. We'll start on the amp's clean channel and we'll play some classic sort of stuff, some jazzy stuff, some folk, some pop, some country, maybe a bit of indie, and then we'll kick in my favorite overdrive pedal. That's the Greer Lightspeed Organic Overdrive, where we'll do some indie rock and some classic rock as well. Then we'll move up in the distortion stakes. We'll go to the amp's lead channel and play some punk rock and some hard rock and so on. And finally, we'll go back to the clean channel. We'll tune the guitar down to drop D, and I'll kick in my Rev G3 high gain distortion pedal, and we'll see if the VSA500B can do a bit of chug, because why not? Semi-acoustics are known as being some of the most versatile guitars out there, so we might as well try it. And because I'm a certified Bigsby beginner, I'll do a couple of wobbly tests with that as well, and hopefully we'll get something musical out of that too. Enough talk then. This is the vintage VSA500B in Gunhill blue. Let's play it now, and we'll speak in more detail about it afterwards. Okay then, so that was the Vintage VSA500B in Gunhill Blue, and I hope you enjoyed the playing and the tones. This was my first attempt at trying to play a guitar with a Bigsby and make it sound musical. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about Bigsbys. Are they worth it? Are they just a novelty? Do you have guitars with Bigsbys? I want to hear your opinions in the comments. But what I'm going to do now is give you my in-depth opinions about this instrument, because I've had it here at home for the past few weeks and I've played it a lot since then, and there is quite a lot to say about it. But we'll start with my first impressions of the guitar then. As soon as I got it out of the box, I was amazed, bowled over by its looks. It's a really classy looking guitar, and it's also huge. You know, it's a real giant beast of an instrument. It's got this full-sized body, which is really thick too. It's a huge, huge guitar in every respect, and the Gunhill Blue looks amazing. It's a really elegant looking aesthetic. The Bigsby really gives it a nice vintage look to it as well. And when I picked it up, I was not that surprised to find out that it's a heavy beast too, considering its size. This specific guitar weighs 3.91 kilograms, which is about 8 pounds 10, so it's not a light guitar by any means. We're up in Les Paul territory here, and because it's semi-acoustic, you might think it could be a bit lighter, but with the weight of the Bigsby and this huge body and this one-piece mahogany neck, no surprises there. I do have to say that the guitar balances really well, whether I'm sat down and I've got it on my knee to play it like that, or if I've got a strap and I'm playing standing up, it balances really well, and it doesn't feel super heavy. Because it's so large, it feels right at this sort of weight. With first impressions out of the way, I immediately went to plug the guitar in, and then I got to feel something of the build quality and also the playability of this instrument. And in terms of build quality, well, this is a Vintage in 2024, and as I've come to expect from Vintage, the quality is really, really decent, especially for the money. Now, this guitar was sent to me by Music Vine, the German distribution partner of Vintage, so they will have had this one set up for me, but it came with a fantastic setup, as you would expect in that situation. Now, in terms of the build quality, the finish has been done really well. The Gunhill Blue looks fantastic. We've got great hardware across it. We've got the Wilkinson bridge, Grover Deluxe tuners, a Graphtec nut, this officially licensed Bigsby. It's all really good stuff, and it all performed as flawlessly as I could expect it to. In terms of the playability then, well, this guitar, it could hinge on its size for you. It could be too large for some people, too cumbersome, but for me it feels really good. It is a large guitar and it does make you play differently, but I really, really like it. Now, the body for me is very comfortable. You've got great upper fret access. I really like playing around with the Bigsby too. The one issue with the Bigsby and playability for me is that it gets in my way if I'm trying to flick the selector switch or if I'm trying to fiddle with the controls on the fly, but that's something you'd also get used to too, I think. Now, in terms of the neck, we've got a poly finish on this one, and while I would always prefer a satin finish if I could get one, I'm very satisfied with how this one plays. Action and intonation are both great on this guitar. The guitar stays in tune really well as well. The frets are smoothly rounded, nicely crowned, and so on. Everything does its job. So it's a really good playing instrument. The build quality is great too, but how does it sound? That's of course the other key thing that you would consider when buying a new guitar, and well, I really love these Wilkinson WOCHB pickups. I don't think I've tried this specific model before, and they're vintage voiced and they should give us a thick, rich and powerful tone, and they really do that. They sound absolutely wonderful. Semi-acoustic guitars are some of the most versatile instruments out there, and this guitar is no exception to that rule. I found that with these pickups, with this instrument, I could cover every tonal genre that I wanted to. Maybe not 100%, 100% authentically, as we'll come to when we talk about metal, but it really does pretty much everything. Starting with the clean tones then, and with this guitar there are a massive range of different kinds of clean and edge of breakup tones on offer. With the neck pickup you get lovely warm jazzy classic sort of sounds, and with the bridge pickup you've actually got quite a bit of poke and a bit of aggression there, and it got the amp, which was set fairly clean and neutral, to break up quite easily. So with the combination of those two pickups you can cover a massive range of clean ground, and using the middle pickup selection setting, having both pickups together, is just beautiful for arpeggios, for folky stuff, for strumming, even for funky stuff as well. And for the more atmospheric stuff with the Bigsby and a bit of extra reverb, it just sounded wonderful. I find myself often going back to the Bigsby for clean stuff just at the end, just to give it a bit of a wobble, and that just seemed to work. It gives you a bit more atmosphere to your music. It might be a bit of a novelty, but I'm still really enjoying it. Now, when we kicked in the Greer Lightspeed for some crunch, for some classic rock and for the indie, I thought this guitar sounded massive, as befits its stature, I suppose. But with the Greer, with everything at about 1 o'clock, the tone, the gain and the volume control, we got amazing, thick, classic rock tones with a big mid push. It sounded huge for AC/DC sort of stuff, and it sounded fantastic for indie when I backed the drive off to about 11 o'clock. Really, really nice tones that I could just sit and noodle around with for days on end. When we went up to the harder rock stuff and we did the punk as well, this guitar was very well suited for that. Despite these being vintage voiced humbuckers, they've got a pretty great clarity for that kind of stuff. And for the pop punk things, for the palm muting and the chugging, they just sounded really, really good. Really thick and fat, and just worked for me. I could actually imagine owning this guitar purely for playing punk and stuff like that, and it would look great on stage, and it sounds the real deal too. Now, when we went to drop D and we turned on the Rev G3, we were out of home base for this guitar, but it can do metal. It has a lovely thick sound, a massive overall bottom end as well, so it's not going to give you that thickness, tightness and clarity that a more modern active pickup, for example, is going to give you. But if you want to do metal, and particularly sludgy, slower sort of stuff, you can do it on this guitar, no problem. So in terms of overall tones then, I would challenge you not to be able to dial in a sound that you liked with this guitar. It's really, really versatile. It covers every bass. And I guess the one thing that we also need to talk about is that Bigsby. Like I've mentioned a couple of times in this video, this is really my first attempts at playing a Bigsby for more than 30 seconds on a trade show floor or something like that. And I really thought that it's a really fun thing to get to use. At first I was just kind of wobbling it around in between the riffs that I was doing, and it works for that, it's nice, but I thought, is that all it is? And then I looked at a couple of YouTube videos with people giving me a few more tips on how to use a Bigsby, and I'm miles away from being able to make the most of it, but I did try and attempt a couple more riffs with a bit of extra reverb where I make individual strings wobble, doing a bit of harmonics with the Bigsby, and it is a really cool effect and something that I look forward to exploring more in 2024. Now, I should say that you can get this guitar as a standard VSA without a Bigsby, with just the standard Tune-o-matic style bridge if you'd like that, and that is going to be significantly cheaper as well. But for me, I'm loving the Bigsby, and I'm happy to keep this guitar for a bit longer and maybe becoming a bit more proficient with this unique tone-making device. Overall then, if you've been watching this video and you kind of like this sort of an instrument, but you're wondering what else is out there, well, there are a number of options. Like I've said, you could go for the VSA500 without a Bigsby if you just want that standard 335 sort of action. If you really want to have that authentic 335 experience and you've got 5 times the budget for the vintage, you could go for a Gibson, or you could choose one of the current Epiphone models. The Epiphone, inspired by Gibson range, is going to cost you around similar money to the vintage, and the couple that I've tried in stores have been very nice guitars indeed. So check those out if you're interested and you want the genuine 335 body and that new Epiphone headstock shape as well. Or if you've got less money than the vintage, a fantastic offering at about 250 euros is the Harley Benton HB 35 Plus, and I have a video of that specific guitar elsewhere on my channel. And there's another guitar in my collection that I would want to mention. That is my trusty Ibanez AS73 FM in Azure Blue gradation. That's an Ibanez take on the 335 sort of style, and that's a really great mid-range, mid-priced guitar as well. It'll set you back a little bit less money than the vintage, and there's videos of that guitar that you can watch up there too. Now, if you want to try something a little bit off the beaten track in terms of brand, you could go for something like a Gretsch Streamliner, or even try some of the Larry Carlton guitars. There's a bunch of different semi-acoustic 335 type instruments out there though, so head down to your local music store. That's always the most fun way to check out new guitars and find what might be best for you. But overall, if you do get to check out this VSA500B, I wouldn't be surprised if you end up taking it home, because it is a fantastic instrument and it's impressed me in every respect. With that retail price of 699 British pounds, this is certainly not the most affordable vintage guitar out there, but it's full of amazing specs, features, and also other brands' hardware. Don't forget, we've got the Graphtec nut, we've got those Grover Deluxe tuners, we've got these Wilkinson pickups and Tune-o-matic style bridge, and we've got this awesome B70 officially licensed Bigsby vibrato as well. And alongside all that excellent stuff, we've got a great playing instrument with a lovely feeling neck, a nice rosewood fingerboard, these amazing sounding Wilkinson pickups, and just an overall rock and roll experience that for me really works. Because of this guitar's size and stature, do give it a try to see if it's going to work for you, but I have no hesitation in recommending that you seek out one of these if you're in the market for a guitar like this. I hope that this video has answered all of the questions that you might have had about the VSA500B, but if there's anything else you want to know, drop me a line down there in the comments and I shall answer to the best of my ability. And if you're still around, it would make my day if you wanted to give the video a like, or maybe even sub to my little channel, because that really does help. But that's been it for today's video. I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.